Be sure to stay till the end to see the filmento cut of this video with extra never before seen footage.
And the Oscar goes to...
This is the first Oscar nomination.
I, Frankenstein is an epic action movie from 2014 where Frankenstein's monster leaves his old life behind to start a new one and is then immediately pulled into an ancient war for the fate of humanity. A war between heavenly gargoyles disguised as men and hellish demons disguised as businessmen. Yeah, that's right. And if you Google this movie, you might shrug it off as just another really terrible wannabe blockbuster, because it got horrible reviews and barely anyone knows about it. But what you need to understand is that this is a cover-up by the Hollywood elite. See, in reality, I, Frankenstein may very well be the greatest movie of all time. In fact, it's so incredible and so full of insanely useful filmmaking lessons that any average Joe that watches it will immediately gain enough knowledge to become a new Spielberg. Which is why big-name filmmakers like Spielberg decided to bury it, because if everyone knew how to make great movies, the individual value of great movies would plummet, just like bitcoins immediately after I bought it. But since I'm now desperate for views and money after losing it all on Bitcoin, since I value filmmaking lessons so much, I'm willing to martyr myself for the cause and publicly analyze I, Frankenstein in order to uncover its long-lost filmmaking secrets for you. And whereas usually we focus on a few key lessons per video, this movie is so full of them that it's best we just speed run through the whole thing and take all kinds of lessons on the way. Or at least the types of lessons that I'm capable of comprehending, because there's a lot of stuff here that's way over my head. Great acting, for example. I don't know what makes great acting, I just know it when I see it. And here, oh boy, I see it.
No!
But as to the more comprehensible aspects, let's try to learn from them. Oh, and in case you don't hear from me ever again, it's either because there's no point learning from other movies after this one, or because I'm dead. So if you want to encourage me to keep my channel going, you can support me on Patreon to give me financial protection. And also, remember how back in the day you guys loved my Thanos Wrath thumbnail so much that I later turned it into merch?
Cursed thumbnail.
Just stopping by to say your thumbnail is cursed.
I didn't know I could hate a thumbnail so much.
That thumbnail was effed
What
up,
have you got
goofy
upon this
buffano.
person?
Well, I just made it into a one-of-a-kind NFT as well, so go bid on it with the link below, because it'll be worth millions soon. But yeah, anyway, here's how to make the perfect movie. The movie begins in the 1700s where Frankenstein's monster was created, which we know because we begin in a way every motion picture should, with voice-over exposition.
I was cast into being in the winter of 1795. A living
Not only does the voice-over explain the backstory, but everything else as well, from the hero's actions
I took that of his beloved new bride.
to even his abilities.
He pursued me. I was immune to the cold. He was not.
Which is a great way to get information out quickly and clearly as opposed to having to build actual scenes. Nobody goes to the theater to watch movies, just say out loud what the characters do and have done, even in places where you also show it.
But I survived.
Okay.
After that, Frankenstein's monster, aka Frank, takes his creator Victor Frankenstein into this graveyard to bury him, and then all of a sudden he gets ambushed by demons. And I do mean all of a sudden, they just appear without any build up to the fact that in this world demons exist. Because there's no need, the audience will gladly go along with every crazy thing no matter how confusingly out of nowhere it appears. Also, there's immediately god-awful CGI. Which is very smart to show this early, because now any potentially better CGI later on will feel even better because the audience's expectation is already at 0. And as the demons attack Frank, suddenly a pair of gargoyles wake up in a nearby church and come to his rescue. In other words, it's only been a few minutes and the movie has already introduced concepts for 3 different movies, which is great because why make one movie or build one movie at a time when you can smash 3 movies together right away. Then, once the fight is over, the gargoyles turn into people and wonder what was going on.
Never seen a human kill a demon before. It's been a long time since I've seen demons this far north.
There must have been something special about it.
which in turn makes the audience wonder why they just happened to be hibernating here in the middle of nowhere in the first place, but never mind that. The gargoyles then take the journal from Victor Frankenstein's body and take Frank to their home base cathedral in this CGI city where it's always night and where apparently nobody lives because the streets are always empty. And as Frank wakes up, he is met by the Queen of the Gargoyle Order who, you guessed it, gives more audible information.
The Gargoyle Order was commanded into being by the great Archangel Michael. You were attacked by 4 demons under the command of a dark prince. It is our sacred duty to wage war against the demon horde.
Demons can only be descended by sacramentals.
Any objects can be made sacramental by marking them with the blessed symbol of the Gargoyle Order.
And as Frank gets all this stuff explained to him, you'll realize that he's gonna be a passive hero pushed by the plot, meaning that he doesn't really do anything on his own accord or carry any meaningful personal motivations. He mostly just ends up in places where things happen to him. On top of which, he's the type of hero that expresses no kind of emotions, which means that the audience has absolutely nothing to relate to or even latch onto.
I care not for the world of man. I care not for Frankenstein.
And in addition to that, none of the characters here get real introductions. There are no specific entrances where people showcase who they are, like Captain Jack stepping off a sinking boat as if it's all according to plan. They just show up to fight or explain whatever stuff. That's it. Why waste time on strong first impressions when it's much simpler to just have characters appear? Anyway, Frank then decides not to fight in the ancient war against demons and leaves, unknowingly leaving behind Victor Frankenstein's journal with information about how he was created.
Lock this in the vault. It must never fall into Nibirius's hands.
That is but a book, Your Majesty.
Oh, and by the way, one of the gargoyles is played by Jai Courtney, who is a seal of quality when it comes to Hollywood movies, so obviously you want to cast him as well. Then, since Frank doesn't actually have a motivation to go anywhere specific, he just hangs out at the mountains where he does nothing except train to become an expert demon slayer, which is proven not with a lengthy montage but with one shot where he swings some sticks around. Don't overcomplicate establishing your hero's skills and abilities, just have them be able to do stuff because of who or what they are, whatever. Then more demons attack and Frank decides to head back to the city to find their boss, which results in every studio executive's favorite narrative tool.
So many years passed, I lost track of time. 200 years. Yet I did not grow old and die as human.
Exactly, a 200-year time jump to break and reset all momentum as we head toward the end of Act 1.
Nice.
If you don't have that, you don't have a real first act. Once Frank has returned to the city, he gets himself ambushed by demons and uses his unestablished skills to fight them and find out where their boss is.
Nibirius. Where is he?
Which he wants to do because the demon boss wants to find him. Still not the most compelling reason to act, but anyway, he then gets taken back to the cathedral by the gargoyles, after which the demons launch a massive attack. And there's a couple ways the action here is made really fantastic. First off, Frank doesn't even take part in the fight, he just sits inside, meaning that the action is just CGI noise with no actual characters there that we could invest in the action through. It's pure loud fun.
And when Frank finally joins the fight, he still plays second fiddle to lesser characters and is barely on screen.
On top of which, the action also goes against the story, because earlier the gargoyles were insistent that the war needs to be kept secret from humanity.
Ours is a war that must be fought in the shadows. It is not an open battlefield.
And now, here they are, fighting in the open and even chasing the demons out. Like, yeah, I'm sure humanity has never found out about the war where every time someone dies there's a massive fireball or a bright sky beam. None of this makes any sense, but it's cool, and you shouldn't limit coolness with a sensical story. Don't overthink the details of how things work. This is what audiences want. After the fight is over, the demons then get their hands on Victor Frankenstein's journal, and this is where the movie shows that even if you don't have real character motivations, you can just make them out of thin air. See, when Frank realizes that the demons have the journal, he gets a strong urge to retrieve it.
Do you understand what that journal is to me? It's the chronicle of how I came to be. Who I am.
It is a bit weird because he's never shown any interest in the journal before.
And he never went back to Victor's lab for the research material either.
But so what? It's a motivation. You know, why are the gargoyles trying to protect humanity when they don't even talk to a single human in the whole movie? Doesn't matter, that's just what gargoyles do.
Everything you do is for the good of humanity. There is no wrong in that.
Why is the Demon King trying to create an army of Frankenstein's monsters to enslave humanity? Doesn't matter, that's just what demons do.
And mankind. Nothing can stop their demise.
A motivation doesn't have to be real, it just has to appear to be there. Anyway, the journal then ends up in the hands of this human doctor who unknowingly works for the Demon King in an effort to figure out reanimation. And since she's the female lead here, no time is wasted setting up her personality or life outside this lab. She's not a real person as much as she's a really attractive trophy to be won. Like, just pretend she's a whatever smart doctor and give her knee-high boots. That's all the work you need.
Tonight's experiment represents the culmination of...
Time is fleeting, Dr. Wade. I'd ask that you not waste mine.
And as the doctor has left work, Frank creeps up on her in a dark alley, which obviously earns her trust because that's how women function.
Come with me.
Okay.
And then he explains that he needs her help to understand the stuff in the journal for some reason, which leads us to this really great scene where Frank repeats information that the audience already knows.
There's a war. It's been going on for centuries. Gargoyles and demons.
That's a great tool. Any great writer will tell you that repeating information...
The worst crime you can commit is telling the audience something they already know. It'll take a while for the audience to forgive you.
Anyway, the relationship between Frank and the Doctor then becomes the driving emotional force for the rest of the movie, and it plays out in a really great way. He fights a demon while she stands there watching, she then patches his wound, and now after mere minutes of knowing him, she already acts close with him and is sure there's a softer side under his hard shell.
You're only a monster if you behave like one.
It's not very realistic, but so what? Most audiences are male, so the point is to play into the male fantasy that this super hot kind woman exists for just one reason, to immediately fall for you no matter how hideous or unlikable you are. That's a great movie relationship. As one more thing, notice how the locations so far have been of very specific types, repetitive and uninspired. Just have the heroes walk down ugly dark alleys that all look the same. Just have the hero fight in a whatever boring empty warehouse. Don't overthink your locations or anything else. That's the key to a great second act. In the third act, the movie mainly focuses on escalating things and making them more intimately personal, as all movies should, but it has some very usefully specific ways of doing so. First off, the way the hero's journey is made much more intimately personal is by revealing that the reason Frank needs to understand the journal is because he wants a girlfriend.
Frankenstein promised to make you a companion, didn't he?
A promise he broke.
It is a bit out of nowhere because, again, he had no interest in the journal in the beginning, not to mention that he's never even tried to find companionship before because he kind of went into the mountains for 200 years, but sure, it's emotion.
It's been a long day without...
And it doesn't really matter anyway, because once the Doctor gets captured by the demons, Frank's mission then becomes more about saving her, because he has feelings for her. And you can argue that Frank's feelings for the Doctor are a bit forced because he just met her, and also because the only other human woman he's ever met, he killed. But regardless, seeing Frank generate feelings for this hot girl, it's understandable. It's realistic, modern, emotional behavior.
I have someone with me now, a human. I have to protect her.
And who's that? Oh, it's Sam!
Secondly, the stakes of the movie are ramped up to real blockbuster levels by doing what real blockbusters do.
I have been gathering human corpses for centuries, each one a host for the legions of demon spirits I will now summon from hell.
That's right, the Demon King has prepared an endless amount of human corpses that he's trying to reanimate so that dead souls can take over them to form an army. And if you don't have an army of faceless CGI monsters coming to life at the end, you don't really have a blockbuster, do you? Also, the movie creates a very intense ticking clock by giving the reanimation process a percentage calculator. Now, yeah, you can say it's a bit on the nose and arbitrarily weird because why would reanimation of a dead body have a Windows progress bar, but whatever, there's a very clear ticking clock that by itself takes care of intensity. And speaking of reanimation, the movie also makes sure to pay off the MacGuffin journal it's been carrying all this time, because from this journal, the bad guys get the key to reanimating bodies.
That's 15,000 joules.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Wade.
Now, again, sure, it's not the greatest payoff that the big key to reanimation from this 300-page journal is the voltages to use, because surely they would have tested different voltages anyway. But the point is that there's a payoff to the MacGuffin. That's what matters, not what the payoff actually is. Then, as the finale moves to the climax, we get a conclusion to the hero's character arc. Essentially, the Demon King has defeated Frank and now invites a demon soul to take over his body because he doesn't have a soul. Until it turns out that he does.
His body is mine.
No, it's not. You have a soul.
Obviously, it's never properly established how exactly Frank suddenly got a soul. It was never properly established that he might have been missing one in the first place, because it's not a real thing outside of dialogue. And that's the thing, your character arc doesn't have to be real. The audience is dumb and they're essentially gonna be like, oh, that man had no soul, but then he fell in love with this woman and now he has a soul. What a great journey. The arc itself doesn't matter, just say whatever in a few places.
Without a soul,
could not restore your soul.
No soul.
I have no soul.
And then say it in an opposite way at the end.
You have a soul.
Character arc. And once evil has been defeated, we then move to the awesome ending, which is the exact same as the awesome beginning. Voice-over exposition.
We do not ask for the lives we are given, but each of us has the right to defend that life. I have fought to defend my...
That's right, Frank stands on a rooftop and explains the character arc he never actually went through and how he's gonna protect humanity, even though he still doesn't even know any other humans because the CGI city is empty. And as the final thing, there's one more mandatory setup for a sequel.
And when the forces of darkness return, you shall know that I am out there, fighting to defend yours.
A sequel which unfortunately will never happen because you've just successfully made one of the worst movies ever. Hey, the video's over. What are you still doing here? Oh, you want to see the Filmento cut with extra footage. Alright. Well, you're in luck, because the Filmento cut is basically me talking about my most favorite game of all time that's celebrating its 3rd anniversary. It's a super hot free-to-play RPG mobile game that packs such incredible gameplay and graphics it may as well be a PlayStation 7 game. It's about a massive fantasy world where you choose from hundreds of hell-elite champions and fight against all kinds of creatures and bosses. I like this champion because she's all about freezing enemies and protecting herself and her team, even against Will Smith. I like this champion because she can burn her enemies and reduce their healing, and also because she kinda looks like my girlfriend Chloe. I personally like to do clan battles and work together with others, but you can discover your own champions and gameplay. And now is the best time to join because the game is being updated with all kinds of cool anniversary events and prizes, as well as even more champions and skins. The game is called Raid Shadow Legends, and they're sponsoring this video with a free booster pack worth $40. It includes 3 champions, 10 magic XP brew, 10 force XP brew, and even 10 spirit XP brew, all of which you'll find in your inbox. So click the link below or scan my QR code and get started. And there you go. Hope you enjoyed the Filmento cut as much as I enjoyed I, Frankenstein.